Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda, and this channel we talk about all things true crime related. In today's episode, we are going to be continuing to talk about the preliminary hearing for Tyler McCain. Day 1 began last week on Thursday, September 4th, and court there doesn't seem to be holding preliminary hearings on Friday or Mondays. So this past week, it was only Tuesday through Thursday, and proceedings will pick back up again on Tuesday, September 16th. So this preliminary hearing is not being streamed. The only information I have is from those in the courtroom, just like it was with Crystal Rogers. I'm piecing it together as best as I can. I do want to shout out the local news source and News Cafe for their coverage. They have been on the case with a lot of info from the very beginning. Now, before we jump in, please take a second to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. So let's get into what happened during day 2. In the morning, the prosecutor asked the judge to issue a criminal protective order against Tyler to prevent him from contacting Nikki's sisters, Kay and Chloe. The judge questioned why this was necessary, and the prosecutor explained there may have been some indication Tyler was suggesting to family members to get the children on their side. After hearing that, the judge granted protective orders for the 2 sisters. However, he decided to do a separate hearing on Wednesday to determine if similar orders should be issued regarding Nikki and Tyler's 4 children. They range from ages 8 to like 13 or 14. Testimony then continued with Shasta County Sheriff Mall. When we left off on Thursday, he had been discussing, and they played for the court, the audio from his interview with Nikki from December 1st, 2023. That carried over into day 2, where the defense had their chance at cross-examination. After that, another officer took the stand and described photographs that she took of Nikki on December 1st, which were entered into evidence. We also heard from a few deputies about their prior encounters with Tyler. One deputy testified that he was called to Deschutes Road, where he found Tyler walking. Because of Tyler's probationary status, the deputy was able to conduct a search. Tyler had been carrying a man's wallet, but it had been completely empty. The deputy ended up just giving him a ride back to his Olinda Road home. Now, the way I took this testimony, it sounds like Nikki's driver's license was not in the wallet at this time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a date that this encounter happened where he found Tyler walking along the side of the road. Like I said, only like a handful of local news outlets are covering it, so I can only work with the information that they provide. Another officer later testified about pulling Tyler over on Highway 299. During that stop, which we know took place on April 1st, he conducted a search of Tyler, and in Tyler's wallet, he found Nikki's driver's license, and it was partially burned. The next witness on the stand was Senior Investigative Technician Courtney Leadingham, who worked for the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. She remained on the stand for the remainder of day 2. She testified to being present during the search of the McCain home in May of 2024, shortly after Nikki's disappearance. According to her testimony, she found several vehicles in despair on the property, along with scattered car parts. Inside the home, she said ammunition of various calibers were found in nearly every room. Photos were entered into evidence showing plastic bins and metal containers of ammo throughout the house. Another image was submitted showing a rifle stored behind a refrigerator, which from what I saw was not loaded. She then described entering the primary bedroom. According to her testimony, the room was in disarray and the walls were riddled with holes that made it look like it had been caused by a large object. She said the bedroom appeared to have been used by both Nikki and Tyler. A photo was shown in the courtroom of a note that was found inside the bedroom. It read, quote, "I feel like we would have been better off going our separate ways," end quote. I wasn't able to find really much about this note, who wrote it, anything like that, only that it was recovered from their bedroom. Moving on to the primary bathroom, she testified that she found about a 1/4 inch of water standing on the floor. She conducted testing there, but found no signs of a significant blood event. She also testified that on the kitchen counter, she located Tyler's ID, several rifle rounds, and a set of keys, which turned out to be the keys to Nikki's truck. Investigators used these keys to access the truck bed, which she noted it carried a strong odor of decomposition. Inside, they found a white sheet with brown stains. Photos of the truck bed were entered into evidence. These photos showed positive reactions when Blue Star was applied, which indicated the likely presence of blood. According to the witness, the tread on Nikki's tires was fairly unique as well. She explained that tire marks matching Nikki's tread pattern were found loose in dirt at Tyler's grandmother's property on May 28, 2024, and photographs were shown. She added that the dirt was so loose you could literally blow it away, which suggests that the truck had been there fairly recently. She also testified that in April 2025, Nikki's vehicle was transferred to the California Highway Patrol Evidence Garage to determine if it's simply been abandoned after running out of gas. Once the truck was placed on the lift for examination, investigators noticed brown streaks underneath, and from my understanding, those streaks appeared to have been blood and that it had pooled and then left marks in the vehicle. She would end the day on September 9th and would start back on the stand again on September 10th, which was day 3 of the preliminary hearing. She discussed being present while the FBI raided Tyler's home in March of 2025. And during this testimony, the prosecutor would show photographs on the overhead projector. She was showing photos of that March 2025 raid, including a set that showed pictures of Tyler's family hanging on the wall and mantle that had not been there during previous searches. Up until that point, Tyler himself had been reportedly very quiet with his head down, showing real no emotion or response during the hearing. But this caused a reaction. Suddenly he shouted, quote, "This is bullshit. I shouldn't be here. Why am I here? Why am I under arrest? You see the point though?" End quote. At that point, the judge told him to relax and called a recess so that Tyler's attorney could speak with him. When court returned, Leadingham went on to testify about how she used a detection reagent that, under fluorescent light, could show blood and hemoglobin from a decomposing body. She reported that there was a positive test on Tyler McCain's garage floor. Additional notes were reportedly found with phrases like, quote, "I told everyone what you did. Everyone encouraged me to turn you in," end quote, which were discussed. There was also a search conducted of Tyler's mother's home, Jeanette Hayward. Inside her garage, investigators found a partially burned white comforter stuffed in the corner with a sweater. Soot on the ceiling and on spiderwebs indicated that burning had recently taken place in the area. Next on the stand was Tyler's brother-in-law, Michael. At the time, he was living in Happy Valley when his nephew, Justin, called him to pick up Tyler near Bowman Road on Highway 36 around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I didn't see anywhere where it was reported what day this was on, but I assumed it was obviously before Nikki's truck was found. Michael testified that when Tyler got into his truck, he asked Michael to take a longer route home, a specific route home. Along the way, when they reached a pullout, Tyler asked to stop so he could use the bathroom. It turned out that this was a spot where Nikki's truck would later be found. Michael said that he saw Nikki's truck hidden behind the bushes, and he testified that Tyler allegedly had put diesel in the truck, which caused it to not start when he tried to turn it over. Now, from my understanding, Michael also overheard a conversation between Tyler and Justin. Justin asked Tyler if something was in the truck that needed to disappear, which Tyler replied yes. Then Justin asked if the truck itself needed to disappear, and again, Tyler said yes. Michael also testified that he heard Justin tell Tyler, "I've got your back," before the three of them left the pullout area. Michael said he dropped Justin and Tyler off at Tyler's home. Justin was living in a trailer on the property at this time. Michael then went to the casino with $100 that Tyler gave him. Michael said that he met up with his nephew at the trailer later on and told him that he wanted nothing to do with what was going on, and he testified at that time he was not aware that Nikki's truck was missing until he saw the news afterwards. When Mike was asked if he was surprised to see deputies at his door at his new home in Washington State, he said no, and that he had actually wondered what took them so long. From that, I took Michael wasn't even interviewed until 2025. Now, I do understand that in this case, police were doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and it seems like they left things for way too long. For example, how do you not check right away that the vehicle, like why the vehicle was abandoned? Did it run out of gas? Did it actually break down? Or was somebody just simply ditching it? And how do we know at that time when it was found that Nikki didn't drive there herself? And I'm not saying that in a rude way at all. More of a let's talk about this. I think we should highlight steps that should have been taken that we think would be common sense to take so that they become the norm when investigating or talking about things. Not really sure how it came out during witness, I should say, but it was reported that Nikki's credit cards were found by a member of the community. In court, photos were shown of the credit cards, and it showed burn patterns that were compared with the burn patterns on her driver's license, and it appears that they were similar. Now, as day 3 wrapped up, it ended with a court ruling that the protective order would be put in place for the couple's 4 children. The prosecutor said that in recorded phone calls, Tyler could be hearing both his mother and his sister that they needed to get the children on their side, which sure sounds like witness tampering to me, but of course I'm no lawyer, police, or anything, so it's just my take on it. The judge also advised reaching out to the tribal council so that they can make decisions based on what's best for the children. Which reminds me of how much the tribal council plays a role in this case, since Tyler is a tribal member. From reports I saw from that local news source I mentioned earlier, a news cafe, it seems to be that there's some belief that Tyler's family holds some importance, I guess, in the community. I feel like how Brooks Houck felt like he was important in the community. Like, I guess they got away with a lot. So much so that there was a fire alarm that went off during testimony on Wednesday, and someone told the reporter from the news cafe that it was ironic that this was happening as they were discussing items found in Jeanette's garage. But again, I'm not there. I don't know these people. I can only share you what's being reported. Now, rolling into day 4 testimony, Justin, who was Tyler's cousin, took the stand. He had been living in a trailer on the Olinda Road property, and I want to note that his testimony really makes it seem like he doesn't want to be there to help out the state. He would often claim he didn't remember and give answers that really didn't line up to what the prosecution was getting at. The prosecution would play parts of an interview he did with them in March of 2025 after the FBI raided Tyler's home, which directly contradict what he was saying on the stand. He said that Tyler allegedly offered Nikki money to go away for a while and not to testify against him in the domestic violence charges. Obviously, she didn't do this. Justin also confirmed that he saw Nikki in the Olinda Road home in the early morning hours of May 18th, which would have been the last time that she was seen or heard from. He testified that he found Nikki's driver's license and credit cards on the back porch and gave them to Tyler, and at this point there was no burn marks on them. The prosecution would ask Justin point blank if he killed Nikki or if he had anything to do with her disappearance, and he said no. The defense questioned him on being on Bowman Road with Tyler and if the truck smelled of decomposition in it, and he answered no. Next witness called to the stand was a man named Louis B. He said that he met Nikki when she first came into the store to buy a cell phone, and that she returned a few times after that asking some questions about it, and the two developed a friendship that would eventually turn romantic. He testified that Nikki told him that she was trying to get a divorce, and that Nikki would sometimes stay the night at his house, even staying for weeks at a time, but she would eventually go back to living with Tyler. He said he was being patient with her and understood that leaving a 10-year relationship wasn't easy, but the two did talk about having a long-term relationship. He testified to one night Nikki showing up to his home, banging on the garage door. She was soaked, wearing a bathrobe, and had multiple bruises. He said that Nikki told him Tyler had done horrible things to her, including hitting her with something hard, pouring water on her, attempting to strangle her, and holding her captive for hours. He testified that her face was purple, swollen, and covered in bruises everywhere. Now, Louis is set to return to the stand on Tuesday because, again, it doesn't appear that they're holding prelims on Monday or Fridays. This is the second week in a row without anything on a Friday or a Monday, so we're just going to go with that. Also, interestingly, Tyler's mother, Jeanette, was ordered to court on Tuesday morning, so we'll have to see how that plays out. From my understanding, there really shouldn't be too much more in regards to what's left of the hearing. I'd be surprised, I guess, if it goes past Wednesday. Then the judge will decide if there's enough evidence to move forward to trial. Of course, I know that Tyler is innocent until he's proven guilty, but honestly, in my own opinion, I felt that there was enough, which was released to the media before he was arrested. We did find out a few things already during this preliminary hearing that we didn't know prior, or at least I didn't know prior. But I felt like just that information alone, there was enough there to think that he was guilty of this. Either way, I will keep you guys updated, so please make sure to subscribe to the channel or follow on your favorite podcasting platform so you're notified as I release new content. After this video, I have my first ever Patreon video coming out this month, and then I have another update that should be coming out shortly. But until next time, stay safe out there. The world's an ugly place.